So I wanted to say welcome to all the friends and family who have come from near and far to give their last respects, to pay honor, to give thanks to a very special, very charismatic woman. Our beloved Shirlee Feldman was quite a character. She was a lady who lived a very full life, had a very full personality, and whatever she did in a unique Shirley fashion. And so she also brings with her, a great family, also with a lot of passion and a lot of energy and charisma. And since I'm not the family rabbi, I'm not responsible for them in any way. I'm simply representing them, so to speak. And my meeting the family was the first time today because I wanted to be helpful, but I was away out of town. And so we did everything on the telephone. And that it's not always the best way to learn about someone. It's not the best way to know people. But there are certain families who shine through the phone. There's certain personalities that are larger than life. So both Shirley's and her children, in the stories, they really seem to come through the telephone, as I felt like I was much closer than far away. And so our goal today is to share things about Shirley, talk about her life. And in the Jewish tradition, we have her with us. We have her present with us because we believe that she benefits from these stories. She'll hear what we have to say about her. It'll make her feel good. She'll shep nachas. She'll have joy from the joy that she brought to us. And she'll know that the life that she lived was with purpose and with meaning, and that she will not be forgotten by her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, and the many people here with us today. And we certainly should be reverent, and we should certainly be sad, and we should certainly feel the pain that we have in her hearts, but her family and herself are the kind of people who like to laugh too. And there's nothing wrong with the medicine of laughter when we use it as well in the difficult times that we have ahead. So we acknowledge, her family, her children, her daughter Linda, and her son Gary, and Stephanie. We acknowledge that she is the grandmother of Don and Adrian and Elliot and Ryan and Lindsay, great-grandmother of Amber, Dylan, Brittany, and her beloved sister of blessed memory, Arlene. We start with a selection from the Psalms. We read the familiar Psalm 23 in Hebrew, then we'll read it in English. If you would like to follow along in either, please feel free to do so. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo iksar, Binai steshach yarbitzeni, al mei menuchos yenachaleni. Nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elach begeit somaves, lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha o mishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Tarach lefanai shulchan neged sayrai, dishanta v'shem en roshi, kosi revaya, achtov v'chesed yirdefuni, kol yemei chayai, v'shavte v'beis ha'adinoi, la'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in right paths for his name's sake. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. Thou hast set before me a table in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's also our custom to read what is known as the Eshet Chayil, which is the woman of valor. And it basically follows the order of the alphabet, the alphabet, and lists the qualities of a special woman, like our beautiful Shirley. And the custom is in many homes that on the Friday nights, when the Friday Shabbat table is all set, and the children and the family are sitting together, we acknowledge the mother and her hard work and what she has done for us all of this week. Eishes chayil miyimsa virachok mipni nihim mikra batach balev bala vishalo lo yeksar gemal sutai veloira kol yemei chayecha darshet semer ufishtim betas bechapetz kapecha haisa keni yoisaicher mimerchak tavi lachma betakam biya haylaila Bititin teref levesa v'chak narosacha zamamasa devetika cheichu mi pri chapechanato karem hagra mayos masnecha betamei tzroyasecha tamaki toiv sachra Lo yechbe belayla neira yadecha shilcha v'kishor v'kapecha samchu fale kappa parseliani ve'yadecha shilcha li'evyon l'sira mibeisa mishaleg ki kol beisa levushanim marvadi masasala sheish vargman levusha noda bisharim bala bishifto ihim ziknei aret sadi masasavatim kor V'chagor natnu kanani, oz v'hadar levusha, v'tisak liyayim acharoin, picha pascha v'hachma, b'sayras chesed al l'shoyna safia halicha ispesa, b'lechem atzus l'sochel, kamu v'necha v'yeshura, bala v'yehala rabos banus asochayil, v'yatali sal kulana, sheker achein v'hevel ayoifi, Isha iras Adonai, hi sis halel tenula, mi priyadecha, vi halelucha, bishari masecha. I'm going to read with you the translation, and it's really interesting that many people look at this and say, wow, the Jewish religion has a big focus that women should be hard workers and should be into nice things. And so it doesn't always fit with everybody, but it seems to really fit with Shirlee in a uniquely matching way. An accomplished woman who can find, far beyond pearls, is her value. Her husband's heart relies on her, and he shall lack no fortune. She repays only his good, but never his harm, all the days of her life. She seeks out wool and linen, and her hands work willingly. She is like a merchant ship, far she brings sustenance. She rises while it is nighttime, and gives food to her household. She envisions a field and buys it. From the fruit of her handiwork, she plants a vineyard. With strength she girds her loins and invigorates her arms. She discerns that enterprise is good, so her light is not snuffed out by the night. She spreads out her palm to the poor and extends her hands to the destitute. She fears not snow, for her household is clothed in scarlet wool. She makes a cloak to sell and delivers a belt to the peddler. Strength and majesty are her raiment. She joyfully awaits the last day. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and a lesson of kindness is on her tongue. Her children arise and praise her. Her husband lauds her. Many have amassed achievement, but you have surpassed them all. False is grace and vain is beauty. A God-fearing woman, she should be praised. Give her the fruits of her hands, and let her be praised in the gates by her very own deeds. It's not an easy thing to be a child and to speak at the funeral of your mother, but I think that her daughter, Stephanie, must have a unique strength and a great ability, so she's going to share with us today a few words.
Okay. What a blessing to not only live to be 96 years old and independent for most of that time, but to pass on sitting in a chair looking out the window. My mother was older when she had me, and I didn't really understand her until I got older myself. Growing up in the 70s, I didn't make the best choices, and it wasn't until I got older that I realized how much I learned from her. She taught me what kind of parent I wanted to be. She worked in a time when women didn't work, and she told me at an early age that women had to work twice as hard as men to get close to equal pay. She told me I needed a career so that I could take care of myself. I'm so grateful that I listened at that time because it came in very handy, and I was able to pass it on to my own girls. Mom taught me how to write letters and make phone calls to get things done. For those of you who know me, she did a pretty good job at that. My mom had a great sense of humor, liked nice things, and traveled the world, oftentimes with my sister Linda and my brother-in-law Ed. We had a summer home and a boat in Lake Chautauqua. Even though she was afraid of water, we went every weekend. She and my dad eventually moved to Florida, where the grandchildren went to visit them often, especially the favorite Elliot. My parents took those kids on mystery trips. Mom played games with them and went shopping around the city to find the best bargains, but that was really my dad. My mom loved playing the organ, and my dad loved her so much. We really didn't know how much until after he was gone, especially when she played the organ. After my dad passed, Mom moved back here and told me she made up her mind that she would stay young at heart, and she went to great lengths not to be a burden to us. She wrote me a note about what kind of funeral service she had based on the weather. She wasn't doing that to be controlling, but she just didn't want us to make a decision. I'm so grateful that she loved my husband, Scott. She actually tried to talk him into marrying her instead of me. Many of us women will remember going to her place on Tuesday evenings for girls' night salads and conversations. That became a tradition that expanded to my friends, my niece Adrienne, my girls Ryan and Lindsay, and even Lindsay's friends came along. She wanted to keep current on trendy things to say and do, some of which I can't go over here. But finally, I'm grateful to her for getting older here so that I could find a close relationship with my brother Gary, the original golden child, and my sister-in-law Gail, something that I truly value and I know makes Mom rest in peace.
Thank you for those beautiful words. So a little bit about Shirley's life. She was born August 5th, 1923. She was born in the neighborhood of Glenville, East 105th Street, which is a very rich, very busy Jewish neighborhood. Lots of immigrant families getting used to the American dream for the first time. She had a small family. It was her parents and her sister. And she and her sister remained very close until her passing just about 12 years ago. Like many in the neighborhood, there was a spirit of working hard and being motivated and living the American dream for yourself. And that certainly touched her. She went to Glenville High School, which where many of our very successful people today in Cleveland, where their dream and their motivation and inspiration was born. And that was her class, the class of 1942. She wanted to work so hard that she was set out to finish high school 1 year early, to graduate 1 year before everyone else. And her model of hard work came from her father. Her father did not have a huge education, he did not have a hugely paying job, but he was determined to make life for the family better. He was determined to move them from the city up to Shaker Heights, where the life was good. And so he worked 3 jobs, night and day, to make that dream possible. He, during the Depression, had a job when everyone else did not. That certainly rubbed off on Shirley, that if you work hard, that if you're dedicated and you're motivated, you can make things happen that no one else says that you can do. She was bright, and she made things happen, and she wanted to jump into this world more quickly than anybody else. And she really wanted to get started on her dream of starting a family. So at a very young age, just about, I believe, a year after high school, she got married. And while the marriage didn't work out, while it wasn't meant to be, she had a beautiful fruit from the marriage. She had her daughter, Linda. And Linda, we will see, was a very good soul, a very caring, loving personality. And Linda was 5 years old, and at that time, a new man came along for Shirley. Her beloved Mickey, or Mayor Feldman, he seemed like a real mensch, a real gentleman, a real caring guy. And they took Linda, and they added 2 more kids. They added Gary, and they added Stephanie, and they became, together, all one Feldman family. She was a caring mom. She loved her children very much, but she was a little bit different in many different ways, as we already know. For one, she wasn't walking around the house wearing an apron. She wasn't covered in foil and, going over her grocery list. Her agenda and her purpose was quite different. She wanted to make it big in the world of the corporation. She wanted to really, really move. But maybe people who knew her better understood a little bit better her motivation. She really wanted to be progressive. She really wanted to show that a woman in a world which was telling women, you can't do that much. You can't be who you want to be. She wanted to tell the world that you could be exactly who you wanted to be. You could be a woman and you could have ambition. And so that was her plan. She wanted to do it, and she wanted to look the part. In order to look the part, you have to have perfect nails, perfect hair. You got to wear all the right fashions. And I don't know if she loved fashion for the sake of fashion, but she loved looking good. She loved giving people the impression that I know what I'm doing, and I'm in charge of my own fate. And she had a lot of confidence. She had a lot of smarts. And that allowed her to do very well in her job market. And the family described how, you had that fancy TRW building in Richmond, where all the big executives go and have their fancy chairs and their fancy desks and fancy offices. And so she was really at home there as a high-level executive assistant, doing like the job of a corporate lady. But the thing about her is that she seemed to be motivated and really inspired to work and to have that identity. But we weren't sure if she loved it exactly. She wasn't driven by it, quote unquote. But she liked the perks of that world. She liked being able to do whatever she wanted to do. She liked the independence. She liked being able to buy what she needed to buy and to take care of the families, all the family's different needs, be able to take vacations and be able to have a good time. And from speaking to Linda, it sounds like Linda was a very key ingredient, because a lot of times she couldn't be there for the kids because of her job life. She needed a babysitter, a schlepper. She needed someone to feed and to clean and to take care of the kids. And it certainly sounds like Stephanie and Gary were a little bit of a handful. They had quite a lot of energy. And so beloved Linda was there, always taking care of them when they needed someone. And it certainly helped that she was a good 14 or 8, I believe, with regard to Gary, years older and very mature and able to take care of things. And so that was her life, the working lady's life that she liked very much. And of course, as we heard, she was very close to Mickey, to her husband. Maybe they didn't always get along, they didn't always, agree on everything, but they had a certain charm and they had a certain love for everything that they each other did. And like Stephanie was saying, that her organ playing wasn't the greatest. She didn't hit every note quite right. It wasn't exactly the song, like the way that you thought it would sound. But that was the one thing that Mickey said that he missed. He missed her music. He missed the inner sense of herself that she expressed in her playing the organ that he felt was so beautiful and so unique. And so we'll never understand always how people relate, how people understand each other, but they seem to understand and to respect each other as best as they could. As the rabbi asked them about the Jewish education, did you guys go to Hebrew school? How was the synagogue involvement? But they said basically, if you go to Lake Chautauqua every weekend, there's not too much time for Hebrew school. So I get that. But obviously, the Jewish connections and the Jewish community, the Jewish identity was very important to her. But one of the things about her is that as people change, as they get older, they change in different ways. Working in a nursing home, you never know how it's going to go when people get older. Some people get more determined, more difficult, more grouchy, more stubborn somehow. And sometimes people, if you're lucky, get a little bit less so. And it sounds like as she got older, she had a little bit of a renaissance, in a sense, that she was able just to let go a little bit and to a little bit, chill out about certain things. And that allowed her to open herself up, to share who she was, share how she ticked, see how she saw the world. And that gave a lot of people in her life insights, her children, her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren. And it was such a beautiful thing that she had so much independence, that she had so much energy in life, and she had time to be with people and to get to know them, as Stephanie said, so beautiful. But she definitely taught you about spirit, that you don't give up, that you can be in your 90s and you can still balance your checkbook, you can still drive, you can still get to your appointments, and you can still have a grand old time with life. Life can be pretty fun, even if you're in your 90s. And one of the stories that Gary told me, which I think is a really excellent way of summing it up, is that when the time came, she was very independent, but she wasn't remembering everything. She was perhaps forgetting when to turn off the stove, and they had to push her in the direction of independent and assisted living. And so perhaps a little bit kicking and screaming, I don't know, she ended up at Myers Apartments. And on her first day there, they tried to reach her. You try to call grandma, see how the first day was, see how things went. But lo and behold, they weren't able to reach her. They couldn't find the lady. So what on earth was she up to? And finally, when they do reach her, they find out what was happening, that she was at the bar. And if you know her, she wasn't much of a drinker. You didn't often see her going to the bar. But she loved the idea that her kids were all worried about her, all nervous about how she would be doing in Myers Apartments. And she could tell them when they called, she was at the bar enjoying happy hour on her first day at the apartment. So that definitely sums up her, her golden years, her aging. And a lot of people said that as much as she got older, she didn't lose her frankness. In fact, it may have gotten a little bit stronger. And her sense of humor became even better. So if you tell a person you don't like their hats, it doesn't always go so well. But if you make a great joke about it and you have a big funny expression on your face, you can get away with a whole lot more. And that's what happened to her. The people who took care of her aides, the staff, they really loved her. They loved her frankness. They loved her humor. And the family was telling me that when she passed away, as much as it was a sweet passing, if that's possible to say, she didn't pass away after a difficult illness. She passed away in her chair after just getting a visit from her golden boy. That she passed away with a smile on her face. But she was able in her last few years just to be humorous, to be funny, and to be frank, and to be very loved by everybody else. And it sounds like it was a beautiful blessing. A lot of time our grandparents go to Florida, and you don't see them. They're on the golf course more than they are with the family. But it's a blessing that she got to come up to Northeast Ohio, and she got to see her family. And I'm not trying to be flattering, but this family, you guys, a lot of you are here today. It doesn't happen every day that you have almost all the children, almost all the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren here and connected. So that sure says a lot about who she was as a person and what kind of family you guys come from. And certainly as the rabbi, I'd be remiss if I didn't connect the passing of a good person to the Torah portion. And the Torah portion often hints at things that are important to us, that are going on in the calendars of our lives. And that if we know the Torah portion, the portion of Vayigash, we know it's the famous story of Joseph, that Joseph was sent down to Egypt by his brothers, and he was sent away to get rid of him, that they wouldn't see him again. But we all know the way the story works is that Joseph's brothers come down to Egypt seeking food after the famine, and they discover that not only is their brother not hidden in a closet somewhere and gotten rid of, but he's actually become the viceroy. He's also become the king of Egypt. But they don't recognize him, or he doesn't recognize them, we're not sure. And through a whole bunch of complicated things that happen in the story, Joseph can't wait to reveal himself to his brothers, because he knows who they are, but they don't know who he is. And he can't wait, he can't hold it in. And then suddenly, when they're together in a room all together, he says, "Don't you know who I am? I am Joseph, your brother, who you sold into slavery." And what does he say? He says, "I don't care that you did something bad. I don't care that you wronged me. I forgive you." Why? Because family is family, no matter what. And so this Torah portion is no greater lesson than that family is the strongest thing that we have. The bonds that we have with one another, because we're family, are unbreakable, and nothing can change that. No one, no thing, no time. And I think that's a beautiful blessing and a beautiful way to seal the life of Shirlee, because even though she didn't always flatter us, even though she didn't always follow the exact etiquette of the grandmother, and all those things, she had her own way, but she clearly loved her family. She's clearly dedicated to you all, and she truly wanted to see you all together. And it would certainly give her great nachas and joy that we're all here today to pay her our final respects and to thank her for the life that she gave us. And that you can't thank a person enough for giving you spirit. A lot of people can teach us morality and ethics, the right thing to do, but there's something about enthusiasm and spirit and drive and determination that you can't read that in a book. It has to be modeled and shown. And it sounds like she definitely showed us that model of enthusiasm, that you never give up, you don't quit, you keep fighting. So we all pray together that her memory should be for a blessing, and her life and her family should only be blessed by good things. And the golden points of her life should be the golden points in the children, the grandchildren, and the great children's lives. And that should give us comfort and consolation and healing. So just as we wrap up the service now, I just wanted to go through a quick few details about what is happening today. That immediately with the closure of the service, we're going to get up and we're going to escort the casket. Typically, the casket goes out first, then the family will follow behind the casket, and then the rest of us in the audience will file in behind the casket, and we'll walk it out the door to the procession. And if you are going to the cemetery, we're all going to drive in procession with all the cars as a form of honor and respect to Shirlee. And we're going to end up at the Zion Memorial Cemetery, which is on Northfield Road by Rockside. And we'll have the burial service that takes about half an hour or so. And then after that, the family will be receiving at the residence, at Gary's residence, Gary and Gail's residence. And that will be today until 8 p.m. So that's going to be at 724 Oriole Drive in Eastlake. And if you are so inclined and you want to give flowers, or in lieu of flowers, you want to give a donation, you can do so to the Menorah Park Foundation. At this moment, if we could please rise, we're going to read the memorial prayer together. El Malei Rachamim, Sheichein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechoina, Al Kanfei Hashchina, B'Malois Kedoshim Utaharim, Kezarakia Mazhirim, Es Nishmas, Shirlee Bas, Leo and Edith, Shahalachal Olamo, Bavor Shanachnu Mispalim Behachas Nishmasa, Began Eden Tehi Menuchasa, l'chein bal harachamim, yastirecha b'seisa kanafav le'oyet lamim, v'yitzor b'tzor achayim es nishmasa, Adonai hu nachlasa, b'sanuach al mishkava b'shalom, v'ne'emar, Amen. O God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant proper rest on the wings of the divine presence, in the lofty levels of the holy and the pure ones who shine like the glow of the firmament, for the soul of our most beloved, Shirlee, the daughter of Leo and Edith, who has gone unto her world, and for whom we pray. May may her resting place be in the Garden of Eden, and may the Master of Mercy shelter her in the shelter of his wings for all eternity, and may he bind her soul in the bond of life. God is her heritage, and may she repose in peace on her resting place. And we say together, Amen. So we remain standing for just a moment as we grab our coats and our things and ready ourselves to go out the door. And then in just a moment, the pallbearers will come forward. And like I said, the family will follow behind the casket, and then the rest of the people in the chapel.